cusp of summer blockbuster season right now, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, we're just building up to it. I suppose it's funny. It's the thing we're going to talk about. We're kind of hitting the US blockbuster season. It starts a little bit earlier with Memorial Day, which I think was 2 weeks ago. But for us, really, it's into June, you know. But you can see by the lineup of the films coming out now, they're already planning for school holidays, for big celebrations, holiday popcorn, lots of stuff. So we've big array of different stuff to talk about today.
Okay. So we're going to kick things off. The first one on the list this morning is The Fall Guy.
Yeah, now this one's been out for a couple of weeks, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about.
There's a lot of buzz about this.
Because there was a real lot of buzz about it, but then it didn't actually do that well, right? And it was one of those that, you know, it seems to tick all the boxes. And you go, 2 stars from Oppenheimer and Barbie, a TV show that was beloved, good music, all of this sort of stuff. And then I was thinking, now I know you're a good bit younger than me, so you probably don't remember the TV show, but as a fella who loves the 80s, right, I was going, tick, 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 this is for Rory. And Rory hasn't seen. Now, I was asking you off air, had you seen it? But here's the truth. I knew you hadn't. And I tell you how I knew you hadn't seen it. Because I'm a fan. I listen when I'm not on, right? And there's no way you would have seen this movie and not played the soundtrack, right?
Okay.
So I knew that.
Busted.
But I thought, so there was all these reports from the States when it opened on Memorial Day. It did fine. It did fine. But it didn't do mega Ryan Gosling movie. So I thought, maybe it's a bit rubbish, Rory. So I went to see it. This is great. I think you'd really enjoy this. Now, the plot is, it kind of takes the idea of the TV show where in the TV show, Lee Majors, the once $6 million man, it was his follow-up. He's a stuntman who moonlights on the side as a bounty hunter. In this one, Ryan Gosling is the top stuntman in the business, has an accident, leaves, and then he's called back to a movie where his old flame is directing Emily Blunt, and he gets involved. The movie star in the film that he usually doubles for is a complete diva. It's very funny, by Aaron Taylor-Johnson. Okay. And he goes missing, and they get Colt to go and see if they can find him. And what I loved about this, right, it's an excuse. It's a love letter to stuntmen, right? That's what it is. All the stunts are done on screen. There's no CGI where they can avoid it. I'd say what the CGI is used for is to raise the safety ropes. But,
right,
if you see somebody jumping from a truck to a truck, they jumped from a truck to a truck. They've really done it. Okay. And it shows you kind of the behind the scenes tricks. Ryan Gosling just is funny. And himself and Emily Blunt together, they just exude charisma. Even, you know how unfunny the Oscar speeches usually are, where it's the organised banter. Yeah. They were one of the two that were actually funny when they did their speeches together. They just have it. You see it in the press. Everyone, of course, is gorgeous and the sets are amazing. And they just take the mickey out of Hollywood while also having a story about how much we love the movies. And it's just so much fun. It's a real throwback of a movie because it's all, wisecracking couple and lots of stunts. And at the end, they play the TV show had a classic soundtrack as a theme song. Yeah. And they play a new version of that and they show how they did the stunts that have wowed you in the movies. And it's really enjoyable day out. And because it's kind of moved on, that's why I want to bring it up. And okay, we're talking to your many thousands of listeners, but really, Rory, this one's for you. I want you to see this one. I think you'd really enjoy it.
And the reason I haven't gone to see it is not because I've been avoiding it. It's just I haven't had time. But what I do think is, in general, movie versions of, or movie remakes of classic TV shows tend not to be that good. If you cast your mind back, the Dukes of Hazzard,
no good.
Starsky and Hutch, Baywatch. Yeah.
Most
so they don't have a good
I off the top of my head, I can't think of a good one, Rory. And I suppose Starsky and Hutch was enjoyable, but only because they took the mickey out of it. They kind of played it as a comedy version, laughing at it rather than do it. But funnily enough, I think there's probably a few that weren't that successful a TV show that actually made a decent movie. Yeah. It's probably the other way around. The reverse Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was an awful movie and a great TV show.
Exactly,
But maybe it's because The Fall Guy, was relatively successful, but it wasn't one of the big five. Like, it wasn't like A-Team or Airwolf. Yeah. A-Team's another example of it wasn't a good movie.
Yeah.
But this one works because they just get the central idea of the stuntman, but they're not trying to remake the show. You don't have to have seen the show. But I think maybe the publicity around it was exactly what you were saying, going, another TV show. Can I be bothered?
Yeah.
Well, I just say, now, it's silly and it's lighthearted. It is just dumb popcorn fun. But you know, with everything going on at the moment, sometimes that's what we need. And definitely get a thumbs up. And if you get a chance to see it over the next couple of weeks, I really think it's made for you. You love the soundtrack and you love the stunts and you just love the old-fashioned, but not in a bad way.
Okay, so go and make my own mind up.
Yeah, please, yeah.
All right, okay. We're going to go for a very quick commercial break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk another remake.
Yeah.
But one for the kids, Garfield.
Yeah.
Another remake of a classic TV show, and actually a remake of a movie as well. It's one for the kids. It's Garfield, which is in theaters now.
Well, yeah, it's actually in today and tomorrow. It's just getting a special preview. So I have to be honest, I haven't seen this yet because I came here rather than watch it. That's how much I like you, Rory. So it's only a preview. It officially opens next week, but it's on today. Look, we're very much, I was thinking this on the way up, with all the communion shout outs you were given as I was listening to the radio. We're getting into that time of year where there's something for the kids to do at the weekends. And so we've got this coming out. And what they've done is, now Garfield's, as you said, a remake, but I suppose it's never been away in that the comic strip still goes in newspapers. Yeah. You see the merchandise everywhere. And what's funny about Garfield is it's very much, the cute cat and all that for the kids. But his attitude has always been sort of more middle-aged. It's a bit like me getting up with me new hip replacement, There's always that bit of Garfield of, I hate Mondays and all that sort of, he's lazy and he's not focused and he just wants people to stop bothering him, So it's always had that mix. And I think that's why it's so popular, is that kids go and look like the knockabout cartoon stuff, and that sort of other ennui sort of appeals to the parents. Now, I must admit, when they made the movie before, they used Bill Murray's voice, which just seemed the perfect voice for it, wasn't it?
And it was a mistake.
Yes, and it was a mistake. And so you just never know, do you?
Yeah.
And so then you go to they've got Chris Pratt, and he's much more upbeat and young and all. Now it is just seemed to be young Garfield, but I have to say, just judging alone by the artwork and the trailers that we've been showing, I think they might have something good here. I think they've just got the spirit. It's fun. It's just like it's probably not an all-time classic, but it's just a really enjoyable family film. Because we're going to talk about another film next that's really good that way too. One that everyone can actually enjoy. As great as, say, Super Mario Brothers and so on did more money than anything else last year, but really is aimed at a certain audience, and people over 40 really weren't interested in general. Whereas this is just enjoyable fun for everyone. It's about an hour and 28 minutes. Just the right time for all the ages, whether you're the little person or, to be honest with you, if you're my age, you probably have to get up and go to the bathroom too. So you just want about that level. So this looks really good fun. But also along with it, I must mention If, which is the new film.
Oh, yes.
Ryan Reynolds, man of the moment. He's going to have two very big movies, because Deadpool we'll be talking about in a couple of months. And of course, all over the TV with Welcome to Wrexham. But this is a family movie, and it's made by John Krasinski from The Office, who, of course, more famous for doing A Quiet Place. But this is a family-friendly idea. And I feel, look, he must have been watching Inside Out, and the bit where the imaginary friend has to sacrifice himself, he must have kind of gone, what happens to imaginary friends next? And the idea is that as we grow up, the imaginary friends stay there, but we just can't see them anymore. And there's this little girl who's going through a tough time. Her mum's passed away and her dad's not well, and she's nervous. And suddenly she starts seeing all these other people's imaginary friends. And she realised there's kind of like a retirement home, like Shady Pines, for all of these imaginary friends who are all sorts of creatures, from big furry monsters to a very funny one who's a glass of water. And he's permanently annoyed that he's a glass of water and he's the most boring one, and people keep on going to accidentally drink him. This is sweet and funny, and it starts off, it's very sentimental at first, and I was going, this is going to be too American for me, isn't it? It's just that sort of edge lack of edge that they have. By about 45 minutes, I'm there giggling away. By about an hour and 20 minutes, I'm there going, I hope everyone's okay. Loved it. Right. It's really sweet and nice, and it is very sentimental.
Well,
and you
from
have
seeing
to
the trailers, that's sort of the feeling that you get from it. It's a warm, fuzzy,
with Ryan Reynolds,
full of heart.
playing the sort of grumpy guy who's not interested, and of course he is interested, and he's really good at that. He's funny, likeable while being sarcastic. Actually, back to Bill Murray, like Bill Murray at his best, where he was lovable while being, grumpy about everything. Ryan Reynolds is doing that really well, and he's the great foil. The kid's very likeable in it. And they do the thing where they've got great actors, great voice actors.
I was getting real vibes when I've only seen the trailer, and it's a long trailer. By the way.
Yeah, it is.
But,
actually,
I'm getting vibes of Monsters Inc., Drop Dead Fred. Monsters
Inc. meets Drop Dead Fred is a good example with a little bit of Inside Out. And it's all that sort of stuff. And they've, as I said, one of the reasons the trailer is probably so long because they're trying to cram in all the ifs. Some of them only have small parts, but they're really famous people. And I have to say, watch the credit at the end when you see who plays the ifs. Because there's a really funny joke in the credits, which is not that common. That I laughed out loud.
That's going to do big business this
I think so. I think people are really going to like this. It's going to be around for ages. Very warm, very likeable.
Brilliant. Okay, we move on. We've time for one more. This is another, well, not a remake, but a sequel.
Furious?
Bad Boys.
Oh, Bad Boys. Yes, Bad Boys. I tell you why. You have to wonder yourself, Rory. Had Will Smith not slapped the guy, would we be having Bad Boys 4?
First thing that came into my head.
Yeah, would we have? Because he seemed to be moving on from all that, and he was going for his Oscar-worthy stuff. Having said all that, when I know in a couple of the cinemas, when they put the trailer online, that it absolutely went wild. People are really want to see these again. People really love the Bad Boys movies. And
but you sort of think, is this franchise ever going to die?
Clearly not. And I wasn't sure there was that interest in it, but there really was. Just the numbers of people watching. Now, and people want kind of slightly ruder one. Like, they want it to be a 16s movie. So there's lots of action, lots of swearing, that sort of stuff. Like a sort of more grown-up action movie. And, really they're trying to take their place of be the sort of Beverly Hills Cop of their time. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to fill that vacuum. Good, funny action movie. Lots of one-liners. That's open at the start of June. We'll see how it goes. I'm very curious to see how good this one is.
Yeah, well, judging by the previous installment, which I didn't have high hopes for, I really enjoyed.
It was much better than we expected.
So.
I think wasn't the law of diminishing returns. So it looks like they're really into it. And let's face it, Will Smith needs a hit, and he throw himself into this one.
Does he really need another hit?
Well.
Okay. Collie, as always, thanks so much there's some we didn't get to chat about, but we can talk about them next month. You will be back here next month.
Yes, please.
We're looking forward to it. And that's where I wrap things up for this morning as well. Thanks to everyone who got in touch with the programme, with the requests, the dedications, the suggestions for music. Thanks to Liam for his help on the programme as well. I'm back next Saturday morning, 10 a.m. We'll rewind all over again. Paul McDevitt is up next with the Saturday Shuffle, and Donald's here at the top of the hour with a news update for you.